Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our literature unit for the month of June as we get toward the end of June. And I suppose most of you are off for summer vacation by now or almost ready for that. But in any case, you might want to find some place with air conditioning and curl up with a nice novel. If you like science fiction, then maybe the book we're going to talk about today is for you. It's a novel by Philip K. Dick, and the title is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? That's kind of a strange title, but I should say it's kind of the basis for the 1980s movie starring Harrison Ford called Blade Runner.
Yeah, and then they followed that up with a sequel a couple years ago.
The movie.
Yeah, I didn't see either of them. I'm not a fan of dystopian movies, but we'll talk more about that as we get going here. We're going to read through day 1, which focuses on the plot, and then day 2, it will focus on the plot as well, and then day 3, we'll talk about the author and some of the messages that this novel is trying to communicate. So let's get started. We're going to read through day 1.
The year is 1992. World War Terminus, a destructive global war, has polluted the world, and the air is filled with dust. Most of Earth is uninhabitable. In order to preserve the human race, the United Nations is urging people to immigrate to colonies on other planets such as Mars. Despite the radiation, some people opt to remain on Earth. To help encourage the population to move, the UN offers each Mars immigrant a personal android assistant. These androids are virtually identical to humans, so identical, in fact, that it is nearly impossible to tell the difference unless the bone marrow of the person or android is examined. Some of these androids rebel against their owners by killing them and fleeing to Earth. Bounty hunters are tasked with catching and eliminating these rebel androids. Rick Deckard is one such bounty hunter employed by the police. He lives in what remains of San Francisco with his wife, Iran, and their pet robotic sheep. Live animals are a luxury on Earth, as most species are extinct. Owning an animal is a status symbol, so Deckard lies to his neighbors and says that his electric sheep is alive. One day, Deckard gets an assignment to eliminate 6 Nexus 6 robots that have come to Earth. These new androids are more advanced. However, the latest test shows the main difference between humans and androids, the ability to feel empathy for others. Androids do not exhibit empathy. Before any android is eliminated, Deckard must conduct this test. Deckard visits the manufacturer of the Nexus 6, the Rosen Association, to ensure his empathy test works on the new androids.
Okay, folks, we've got some important vocabulary there, right, in the title. So let's take a look. The first one is empathy. You're going to need to know what that means. It just means the ability to understand and then share the feelings of others. You can actually feel what they're feeling. You want to share in their sorrow or joy or whatever feelings they have. If you're showing sympathy, it's not quite the same. Sympathy, you might not feel it, but you're offering to, comfort them usually, even though you may not have had that exact experience yourself. But empathy is somebody who really does understand how you're feeling, wants to share those feelings and comfort you that way. Humanity just means people in general. We'll often say, we want to have a clean, healthy environment for all humanity. It will help everybody. It's just all people. So here we've got empathy and humanity and then there's the title of the book. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? An android, when we were growing up, it just meant a robot. And I was just looking up synonyms or similar words in my dictionary, and they have some good ones like, and Tom, you'll appreciate this, they have things like clone, cyborg. If you're into Star Trek, you know what cyborgs are. But yeah, they're just robots who look like people, but they aren't.
Right, and of course an android, as you said, is a robot. And if you're an android, then you might dream of electric sheep, or you might count sheep if you're trying to get to sleep.
Maybe.
That's a tradition in America. I don't know about other Western countries, but if you have trouble getting to sleep, your mother may suggest you count sheep. Imagine there are a bunch of sheep in a pasture, and they're jumping over a fence one by one, and you count them, and supposedly the monotony of doing that will put you to sleep. I don't know if you have an equivalent concept here in Taiwan, ways to get to sleep. But it's an interesting question. Do androids or robots actually try this when they try to sleep? Well, the year is 1992, and we've got World War Terminus, a destructive global war. It has polluted the world, and the air is filled with dust. Now, remember, this story was written way back in 1968.
Yeah.
So the author was imagining the future in 1992. Of course, there was no such war in 1992. 1992 is long gone. But this is just an imaginary scenario. There was a big global war, and it's polluted the world. There's dust everywhere. So if you're trying to live on the earth, you're having trouble.
Yeah. If something's uninhabitable, it means you cannot live there. And I find the name of the war is interesting. Terminus is connected to the word terminal. And if you're riding on the subway here, the MRT, they'll often say, this is the final terminal. And so it's World War End. Kind of that's the name of this world war. It's very destructive. It involves the whole globe. It's polluted and destroyed our air. The air is filled with dust. It's hard to breathe. And most of Earth, you just can't even live there. You probably can't breathe or maybe raise food or crops or anything like that. So in order to preserve the human race or keep human beings continuing to be here on Earth, the UN, or United Nations, is urging people to immigrate to colonies on other planets, such as Mars. So if you preserve something, you save something or someone from being harmed or destroyed. So I know some good people out there trying to preserve our forests, our natural woodlands. We hope they can do that because that's beautiful. Here, if you urge, you try to strongly suggest that someone does something. Usually it's because something's urgent or you really believe strongly they should do something, maybe for their own good or to keep them safe. So the UN is urging people to immigrate or move to colonies on other planets like Mars.
Or maybe Titan, a moon around Saturn. Maybe you could go there, I don't know. But despite the radiation, even though there's lots of radiation on the Earth, some people opt to remain on Earth. So there was that big war, and maybe lots of nuclear bombs exploded, and there's all sorts of radiation going around. Or maybe the atmosphere was damaged so that cosmic rays or solar radiation is all coming into the Earth and, hurting people and stuff like that. So yes, if you want to save yourself, go to an outer colony like on Mars. So radiation, of course, is when you get particles that are harmful to people or plants or whatever flying through the air. Of course, when you explode a nuclear bomb, you get lots of radiation from those split atoms. They're subatomic particles that fly through the air and give people cancer and things like that.
Yeah, so it sounds like a pretty scary place to be at that point. So to help encourage the population to move, the UN offers each Mars immigrant a personal android or robot assistant. So I wanted to mention here, because sometimes these words are confusing even to native English speakers. What's the difference between immigrate and emigrate with an E and immigrate with an I? I found something online that's really clever. Someone says, just remember what immigrate with an I stands with. It means in. So you can easily remember that immigrate means to move into a different country. Emigrate begins with an E, or think of exit, leave. You remember that it means to leave your home country. So that's how you can remember these two things.
Exactly. So the UN wants people to immigrate to those colonies on other planets, such as Mars. And again, we've got this radiation. Even though we have this radiation, despite the radiation, some people opt or choose to remain on Earth. They don't want to go to Mars. It's all cold there, and the atmosphere is really thin, and you always have to stay inside these, environmentally controlled facilities. You can never go out and go hiking and stuff like that. Who wants to live on Mars? But still, living on Earth, according to the story, is dangerous because there's lots of radiation, but they still want to stay there. So the UN is trying to encourage them to move to Mars.
Yeah, so to help encourage the population to move, they probably have some people like Tom who don't want to go. The UN offers each Mars immigrant a personal android assistant. So if you're willing to move to Mars, they're going to give you your personal robot who will be an assistant to you. Immigrant is someone, of course, who has come from another country and moves to that country, a new country, to live permanently. Tom and I are immigrants in Taiwan. We're residents, but we're also immigrants. So these androids are virtually identical to humans. So identical, in fact, that it is nearly impossible to tell the difference. And this is kind of gross, unless the bone marrow of the person or android is examined. So it's really hard to tell. Sounds like they even have skin and bones and things like that, Tom. So if you're identical to something else, it means you're exactly the same. We have identical twins who are born. Some who are fraternal. I think it's fraternal, right? Fraternal twins. They look alike. They share the genes, the split in the mom's wombs. And then there are non-identical. They're just twins. They're sharing mom's womb, but they have their own genes. They don't share any of those. So they're not, they don't look alike, but they could have been born on the same day.
Right, so you couldn't tell the difference between an android and a human unless you looked at their bone marrow, which of course is the center part of the bones. And some of these androids rebel against their owners by killing them and fleeing to Earth. So they don't want to be slaves. They develop their own sort of sense of themselves, and they're thinking, no, I don't want to be serving these people on Mars. I'd rather go back to Earth. And maybe because they're androids, they will not be affected by the radiation. And we've got these bounty hunters. They are tasked with catching and eliminating these rebel androids. Now, a bounty hunter is somebody who hunts somebody, tries to capture them or kill them because they can get some money for it. And a bounty, of course, is the money that someone offers. For example, I'm offering a bounty for someone to to find and kill the murderer of my brother. Okay, I don't care if I'm going to go to jail because of that. I just want somebody to go out and kill that mean person. So I'm offering a bounty of, say, $100,000 for someone to go kill him for me. And so a bounty hunter, of course, is somebody hired to go kill these androids because they're not supposed to be on Earth.
Right. Hopefully the bounty hunters are working within the law. Sometimes people run away before a trial in court. And they send bounty hunters out to those guys, too. So, yeah, they're tasked with catching and eliminating. And as Tom said, that means killing here, these rebel androids. We're going to take a break right here, guys. We're going to listen to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back.
听众朋友大家好，我们今天要带大家来看一本小说，一个故事《银翼杀手》。那这个小说呢，其实在1968年就已经写出来耶，《银翼杀手》当时就已经有这样子所谓的很科技的一个小说故事。好，讲故事嘛，就一定要看看5个 W 跟1个 H。所以时间呢，第一段第一句。时间是1992年的时候，这个时间当时就是 What 发生什么事呢？原来有一个毁灭性的全球战争，就是世界终局大战。这个战争之后呢，世界就毁灭了，整个污染了世界，空气当中都弥漫着尘土人都不适合居住了。在这样的情况之下，联合国就希望能够敦促大家赶快移民到火星其他的星球，这样子的话，人类才可以被保存下来。在第一段第4句这个地方，我们看到为了要保护、保存、维护，让 事情啊，某一件事情的品质，让某一个种族可以不要被消灭，这个动作叫 preserve。所以为了要保存人类这种品种，那 United Nations 联合国，他就希望大家赶快移民，移到哪里去呢？这个移民啊，其实有2个方向。如果是针对于说话者来说，移进来这个国家会叫做 immigrate I-M-M-I-G-R-A-T-E。 那如果是针对说话者，某一个人要长久移出去了，像我们台湾有蛮多人移到澳洲啊，移民到英国或美国，他移出去的话会叫做 emigrate E-M-I-G-R-A-T-E。 所以你说移民到底要用哪一个字，其实就是看说话者他的立场，好，或者是说移入跟移出这个方向。好，所以联合国希望大家能够赶快能够移到火星啊，其他的星球。而且为了要鼓励大家赶快去移民，联合国就提供给每一个移民的人啊，有一个个人的仿生人助手。这个仿生人就叫做 Android， 它出现在第1段第6句这个地方。这个 personal Android可以帮助你在移民的其他星球上面可以好好的存活下去。不过因为这个 Android 啊做的真的太像了，我们几乎没有办法 tell the difference， 就是分辨出它的不同，除非要检查骨髓哦，才会知道它到底是真正的 human being 还是所谓的 Android。 好，那在这里还是要特别注意一下第1段第7句的地方。首先呢，我们是有看到一个句型是 so that So identical， 逗点之后有一个 that， 有没有？并不是说 so that 要用逗点移开哦，而是在这里插入了 in fact， 事实上是什么样的一个状况。 So that 句型先抓出来，那后面 that 呢又有一个虚主词 It is nearly impossible to tell the difference， 几乎没有办法分辨。那重点就是这一些仿生人因为居然还会杀死主人，然后逃往地球来反抗，也就是机器人要反人类啦。所以这个时候就出现了另外一个who，赏金猎人就出现了，他们要捕捉消灭这些仿生机器人。所以在第1段的第9句 Bounty Hunters 这边也要框起来哦，他就是赏金猎人，因为他如果找到这个反叛的仿生人，然后把他杀死的话，就可以得到 bounty， 就可以得到很多的赏金。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue to summarize our featured book, work of literature for the month of June. It's a Philip K. Dick novel entitled Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? You have to realize that this book was published way back in 1968, so they had a different idea about what the future would be like, but still, it's kind of interesting, and the reason we're talking about this book is because it's kind of the Bible of the cyberpunk movement. Okay, if you know what that is, we'll explain that later on. But in any case, it's an important work of literature. And the movie that was based on this as well, called Blade Runner. Although as a person who's only seen the movie and hasn't read the novel, I would say they're quite different. There are many things that are different in the novel as opposed to the movie. But I'm not going to spill the beans here. I'm not going to spoil it for you. You should read the book and see the movie yourself. Now, let's talk about the bounty hunters here. We've got Rick Deckard. He is one such bounty hunter, and he's employed by the police. He lives in what remains of San Francisco with his wife, Iran, and their pet robotic sheep. And so this is different, of course, from the movie, but I won't tell you about it. But in any case, this one is taking place in San Francisco. I believe in the movie it takes place in Los Angeles. That's about all I'm going to tell you here. But he's married. He has a wife whose name is Iran, and they've got a pet robotic sheep. If something's robotic, well, it's a robot. It's a sheep that's not a human, or well, of course it's not human, but it's not an animal. It's actually a machine.
Right. Why you'd have a sheep as a pet, I don't know. But there you go. Everybody likes different things. So here it says, on Earth, if you have a live animal, you're considered to be kind of wealthy and rolling in dough because they're a luxury on Earth. If something's a luxury, it costs a lot of money, and it is symbolic of someone who has wealth or is living extravagantly. They're not pinching pennies, that's for sure. So live animals are a rare thing on Earth, probably because they've, been killed off because of all the nuclear radiation that's probably in the air. So it says here, live animals are a luxury on Earth as most species are extinct. If something's extinct, it no longer exists on Earth. It's gone forever. You noticed this is an adjective, so you have to say to be extinct. Now, if you want to say something is going extinct, there's no verb. We just say to go extinct. It's going extinct. It's going to go extinct if we aren't careful. So, yeah, this is a pretty cool thing for him to have. And the thing about his sheep is it looks pretty real, doesn't it?
Indeed, and of course it's a luxury. It's something that's hard to come by, and owning an animal is a status symbol.
Yeah.
So Deckard lies to his neighbors and says that his electric sheep is alive, even though he knows it's actually a robot or a robotic sheep.
Yeah.
But he still wants to impress the neighbors nevertheless. Now, moving on now to the final paragraph for today. It says, one day, Deckard gets an assignment to eliminate 6 Nexus 6 robots that have come to Earth. Okay, so he gets this assignment. He's a bounty hunter, and these robots are not supposed to be on the Earth. So he's got this assignment to be a bounty hunter, to eliminate those Nexus 6 robots, and they've come to Earth. They're not supposed to be there. They're illegal on Earth, and therefore he has to go hunt them and kill them.
It's kind of a tough assignment. So it says here these new androids are more advanced. So they've progressed to the point where it's very difficult to differentiate the difference between them and a human being. So it says, however, the latest test shows the main difference between humans and androids is the ability to feel empathy for others. Remember, empathy is that ability to understand and share someone else's feelings. And the androids can't. And that's where they fail the test. Androids do not exhibit, that means show, empathy. Before any android is killed or eliminated, I love how they keep saying eliminated, Deckard must conduct this test. That's part of his assignment. He can't just randomly kill what he thinks are android or Nexus 6 robots or androids. He has to give them this test first, because honestly, he can't tell if they're androids or humans himself. Deckard visits the manufacturer of the Nexus 6, the Rosen Association, to ensure his empathy test works on the new androids. I'm curious to see what that test is. Actually, I already know, but you're going to find out pretty soon.
Indeed. So, of course, you need to conduct this test to make sure that you're not killing a real human being. So you need to conduct this test. And this test is conducted in the movie, but it is a different way.
Oh, really?
I did want to mention also that Rick Deckard is played by Harrison Ford in the movie Blade Runner. I think he has a smaller part in the sequel of Blade Runner that came out a couple of years ago.
Because he's old. He's an old man now.
Yeah, he can't play a lead role, but back then, of course, he was a young whippersnapper. He was a young guy. He was starring in movies like Raiders of the Lost Ark and Star Wars and stuff like that.
He was handsome.
So, indeed, he was in that movie along with, let's see, I think...
Who's the girl? Do you know the lead?
Yeah, her name escapes me. She used to be really popular, but she was one of the robots, which are called replicants in the movie, but I didn't want to spill the beans too much on the movie. It would be a spoiler alert here. I should tell you that I'm not going to reveal too much more about the movie, but in any case, back to the story here, he's got to make sure that the robots that he's going to kill are actually robots and not humans, because if he does kill humans by mistake, that could be a big mistake. And, of course, he goes to visit the manufacturer, which, of course, is the company that creates and makes these machines in a factory. So that's usually what you do if you're a manufacturer. You make something in a factory, and you make a lot of that thing.
I was just looking up the movie, Tom, Blade Runner, and the female lead is Sean Young.
Right. Well, her. I was thinking of somebody else, too. One of the replicants was played by some other famous actress, but I just can't remember her name.
Well, there's Rutger Hauer.
Right.
And Edward James Olmos, who's also very popular. He's still acting today. Yeah. Sounds like a pretty good movie if you're into sci-fi, guys. You might want to check that out. But read the book first. We're not done talking about it, though. We are going to continue talking about the plot tomorrow. As we said, you're going to learn more about what happens at the Rosen Association, where Deckard is going to encounter a pretty good-looking girl, a good-looking female android. And we're going to find out what happens. And then day 3 again, we're going to talk about some of the motivations behind the author's writing of this book. Why did he write it? And what the heck is cyberpunk? But right now, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher.
这个时候就出现了另外一个真正的主角了。这个所谓的赏金猎人啊，在《银翼杀手》当中，男主角 Rick Deckard， 他就是这样子，他是受雇于警方的赏金猎人。好，我们来看一下第二段哦。第二段第一句有一个简化的关系子句，先行词是 one such bounty hunter。一个这样的赏金猎人，就是专门去找反叛的这个 Android 的这个赏金猎人。后面 employed 到句尾可以左右括号，省略的是 who 或者是 that 跟 be 动词的 is。那他的情况是什么呢？就他跟他的妻子 Iron， 还有他们的宠物机器羊，是住在旧金山的那个 The Remains 一些残余的一些建筑物当中。那当时因为大部分的动物都已经灭绝了嘛，所以活的动物其实在地球上是一个很稀有的奢侈品诶，所以他们当时养的是一个 pet robotic sheep， 是一个机器羊，宠物机器羊。不过我们刚刚讲到活着的动物啊，在地球上是一个 luxury， 这个第二段的第3句特别注意第一个字哦。这个字如果念 live， 它是动词的居住。如果说活着有生命的叫做 live， 通常会放在修饰词的前面，所以如果我说活着的动物叫做 live animals。不过同样在这一句注意句中逗点之后的 as 当连接词，我们说过可以是 when， 可以是 because， 可以是如同好像。根据这一句的上下文来判断的话呢，应该表示原因 because as， 因为大部分的 species 都已经 extinct， 都已经被灭绝了，所以呢拥有动物就是一种身份的象征哦。而且 Deckard 会跟他的邻居谎称他的电子羊是 live， 是活着的。那接着有一天呢 Deckard 就接到一个任务啦，他要消灭6个来到地球的连锁6型机器人。他这些仿生人哦，比之前的还要更先进哦。不过在第3段这个地方，第1句我们刚刚说的6个来到地球连锁型的机器人，先行词 Nexus 6 robots， 后面带了限定用法的关系子句，从 that 一直到句尾的地方。那到底要怎么分辨呢？主要的区别就是仿生人他没有 empathy， 没有同理心的这种能力。这个字是关键哦。所以第3段第3句倒数第3个字 empathy 这个字一定要把它圈起来。所以 Deckard 就要做一些 test， 做一些测试。那测试之后确定仿生人是没有同理心的话，才可以去杀掉这个仿生人。那故事会怎么样来发展呢？我们明天见，我是安娜，拜拜。
That's all the time we have for today, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and make sure you join us again next time when we continue to talk about our featured novel from 1968, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Please join us then. From all of us here at English Digest, my name is Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.